Hi and welcome back to our Laravel 8 tutorial, and in this video we are going to continue looking at blade templates. Okay, in the previous video we looked into some blade template directives. We looked at the if directives. We looked at the Foreach directive. Okay, and in this video we are going to continue looking at them, but we are going to move further and look at other blade directives. So this is our home. If I refresh, we see that our project is running on port 8000 using PHP artisan self. Okay, and our project is open in PHP Storm, and here before us, here is our home.blade.php. So nothing has changed. Okay, now, so in the previous video we looked at the if, we look at it for each. Okay, so in this video we will continue looking at the if statement and dive in deeper. Now, in the previous video I told you that you can use the if statement, you can also use the else, you can also use else whenever you want to display an alternative to the condition you are checking about. Okay, so for example, if it is raining, then take a quote, for example. But if it is not raining, then do something else. Okay, so in the Laravel blade directive we say if let me just write it down before I explain it. Okay, now the condition goes into this open and close brackets here. Alright, if it is raining, take an umbrella. Else, as to say, if it is not raining, then go out like that. Okay, so here let's go back to our welcome controller. Now we see that here in this data we are passing in an age. Okay, so if I come here in my blade file, I come to my blade file, I say if age is equal to 100. Now I want to check if the age that has been passed in my blade file is equal to 100. Okay, now I want to do something, but if it is not 100, I also want to do something here. For example, for now, let's write, let's put in a paragraph. Let's put in a p tag. Okay, let's say name is okay. If I copy this and paste down here, name is not. So this one down there is the opposite of the one that is up, which means if this condition is true, it's going to execute this code down here. But if it's not true, that is else is not true, it's going to execute this code down here. Okay, so if I go my browser and refresh, so it's saying this name is 100 years old. Okay, now this if and else gives you those two possibilities, but we have many more possibilities than just two. Okay, so for example, somebody can be below 100, somebody can be exactly 100, somebody can be above 100, somebody can be. So there are so many situations where you need more possibilities. Okay, that's where you see the if and else if directive comes in. Okay, so this one is just for two possibilities. The if else, this one we call this directive is called the if else directive. So we have another one called the if else if directive. Okay, so let me define it down here. To save time, let me just copy all this one, because they're almost the same thing, except that here, instead of else we put else if, and this other else if also takes in a condition. Okay, so you can put in so many else if as you like. Here I can put in so many, even 100 else if, depending on you. So the more conditions you have, the more else if you are going to put here. As I put my keyboard to something wrong with the keyboard. Okay, so for example, for now, let's say we need to, let me just go ahead and delete this code right up here. Let's say we need all of this. Okay, now let's start from here. If you are not going to use the equality to use the equality sign, because the equality sign gives us two possibilities. Okay, so let's use this other one. Let's say if age is less than 10. Okay, we are going to write another condition to check if, just copy all of this here, paste, because I'm lazy, and here, paste, and here, paste, and here, paste. Okay, all right, and you end this loop by using the end if, because we started with the at if. We use the end if to end this loop. Okay, there's no at end as if, it's at end if. All right, so I'm going to check here if age is less than 10. I say here I'm going to write this name here is less than 10 years old. Okay, copy all of this. Now I have to delete this one down here. All right, so if this age is less than 10, say this name is less than 10 years old. Okay, now if this age, let's say this age is less than 30, let's say this is less than 30 years old. If this one is less than 50, let's say this one right here is less than 50 years old. If this is 70, less than 70 years old, if this 100, we say this is less than 100 years old. Okay, I think I'm going to add another one here. Now, if is greater than 100 years old, I want to put in a different message. I say, wow. This name is really old. Okay. Alright. So when we go to our browser, we refresh. Let's see. Okay. So if the age is greater than 100, I want to display something else. Okay. Alright. So now you see that if you go through this our conditions here, we have currently the age is equal to okay. So for the last one, we say if the age is greater than 100, we want to print something else here. We say wow, name is really old. Okay. So currently we have 100 as age. So if we go to our home, we say if this age is less than 10, is this one going to display? No. Less than 30, 100 is greater than 30, so this one is going to fail. This one is going to fail because it's greater than 50. This one too is going to fail because it's greater than 70. This one also less than 100 is going to fail because it's actually 100, which is not less than 100. Now in this last one we are saying if this age is greater than 100. So you see, out of all of this one, no condition is going to pass because there's actually no condition that satisfies it. Alright. So if we go to our browser, so we see no condition satisfies because actually our age is 100. Now if I come here and I change it, let's say we have age of 57. Okay, so let's come here and refresh. It's printing progress is less than 70 years old because it is going to come here, follow the conditions and see less than 10, no, less than 30, no, less than 50, no, it's actually 57, which is greater than 50. So but is it less than 70? Say yes, so it's going to print this one here. Okay, so this is how you write if and else if in Blade template. So I want to show you another method of writing like this. There's another method, or there's another Blade directive that we use alternatively to this one. Okay, so alternative to this if, else if, there's another directive that you can use. Let me just comment all of this. By the way, I did that using control and then /. Okay, so you just select all of it control/. So now all of this code is not going to run. Okay. So you see, it's ignoring it because I'm commenting all of it out. Okay, so the alternative to this if loop is a directive called switch. Okay, so switch. Okay, so this is the we are going to use the add switch directive. Okay, now you should always make sure that whenever you open a directive, just close it so that because you can forget. So let's just close it by this possible now and switch. Now this switch is going to take in the value we are going to check against. So we are currently checking against the age variable. We are checking against age. So in this switch, it takes directives called case. So whatever condition you put here is going to take it and check against this one. If it passes, it's going to execute the code that is directly after this case. Okay, so we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So let's copy this and paste it. Okay, now all right, so now we are going to put the condition here. So here we say if age, let me just come here. Copy, paste. Let me just paste in all and then edit it later. Okay, so here is 30. Here is 50. Here is 70. Here is 100. There was a last one, which was this. Okay. Actually, let me just add one here. There is checking if is equal to. Is equal to 100. Alright. And here we come here. So let me format this. Alright, so that is it is well seen. Alright, so here is less than 30. So let's change it to 30. Here is 50. Here is 70. Here is 100. Now here, if it's equal to 100, we say here this name is 100 years old. So this one will be 100. So Remember here we wrote this was okay. Okay, so if we go to our browser and run this, you are seeing it is printing all of this. I'm going to tell you why it's printing all of this in a moment, because actually it is running check. So it's checking to see if it's less than 10, it's not less than 10, it's not less than 30, it's not less than 50. Actually it was 57. So it's going to come here and check, is it less than 70? Yes. So it's going to execute this code. Is it less than 100? Yes, it's going to execute this code. Is it equal to 100? No, it's not going to execute this code. So we will not see this one on the browser. Is it less than, oh, I've been writing this, it's already done that. Okay. Right, so it's not going to execute this code either. So what you see is less than 70 and less than 100. Okay, let me refresh. Okay, so it is executing all of this code. Now in this switch blade directive, there is another directive that we are going to add. Let me first of all add them and then explain to you what they do later. Okay. Formatting. Okay, so what this break does is that if actually you find that age is less than 10, do this and then you end the break out of the switch. Okay, so but if it's not less than 10, then go on to the next one and check. If it's less than 30, execute this code here and break out of it. So all of this one down they will not execute. Okay, so this break is very important when using the switch directive, so that you're going to prevent all what is happening here, because actually it is checking to see if it is actually less than 70, which is less than 70, also checking to see if it's less than 100. So what we want to do is that whenever we see when the condition is met, we should just break out of it so that you forget about all of this code down here. Okay, so if you go to our browser and refresh, we see it is now printing the right one, which is this one right here. Okay, so apart from the break directive, this break directive is also used to break out of loops. We are going to see that when we're talking about loops. Okay, so we have seen the if else, the if directive. We have also seen the switch directive, and the switch directive we have also talked about the break directive. Okay, now so we want to dive into loops now. So let me delete all of this, or let me just comment it, so for referencing purpose. Okay, so let me just comment all of this. I think even this one here, let me just comment it, so that we only have here loops. You are the home, you are the home. All right, so in the previous video we also looked at the for each loop. Okay, we are still going to look at it in this video and dive into it in more detail. But before we look into that for each loop, I want to talk about the for loop. So we have the for loop. So contrary to the for each loop, the for loop, you need to know the number of items that you are looking at, that you are looping. So for example, you need to know how many items are first of all present in the list of items you are looking into, because this is the syntax for the for each loop. Let's look into it. You see, we have, let's create this variable here and initialize it to 0. Just follow along. I'm going to explain to you what all of this means. Okay, so this is the for loop. Now in the for loop, it has 3 sections. It has the first part, you are initializing this variable, because for now PHP doesn't know this variable. Okay, so here we are initializing this variable and we are checking the condition here. This is the condition we are checking. Yeah, so we are saying that this variable should never be greater than 10, so it should always be less than 10, and here we are incrementing the variable here. Okay, so which means we'll be looping over 10 items. So since it's starting from 9, we're looping from 0 to 9 items, and after we have accessed each item, we should increment the item here. So it is going to be clearer when we do a demonstration. Let me just do a demonstration here. So you should always remember to close N4. Okay, so here what I want to do here, I want to create a list and another list here. So let me carry this now forward into this. Okay, all right, so here let me look into, so this is how you look and print all of the variables. Okay, so in this loop I want to print this I variable here. Now if I go my browser, we see it is looping all over them. So let me do some changes in here in our style so that we can format this correct. Okay, let me just do this fast and you will see when it is done. Okay, so what I just did some small changes in this style. I just had to copy all of this and do some small changes in this our style. So this is just basic, just to show you how the Laravel blade functions. So this is not a CSS class. So even though it looks a little bit copy right now, it's just that we need to save in some time. Okay, So, but I'm going to make a video series concerning CSS. So if you're interested, just comment down below. So that's it. Okay. All right. So this is our list here. Okay, let's just leave it like this for now. Okay. So this for loop, it initializes this I variable. It creates I variable and sets 0 into it and initializes with 0 actually. So it sets a condition that this I should never go beyond 10. In fact, it should never be 10 itself. After it accesses each of these, so it is looping in each of these. In the first loop, I is equal to 1, so it's going to print 1. It's going to come down here and check if I is less than 10. Before checking, it's first of all going to increment from 0. This I plus means increment whatever is inside here, increment it to the next one. So it starts with 0. When it prints I variable, it comes here, increment it to 1, checks it if it is less than 10. Since 1 is less than 10, it's going to come and print 2, increment it to 3, check if it is less than 10. Since 2 is less than 10, going to 3, and so on and so forth. Okay, so it is going to stop only when I is greater than or equal to 10. So that's where you see this printing out here. Okay, now when we're looking at the switch statement, I want to show you how break works in loops. Okay, now if I want to do something when I is something, okay, for example, if I is equal to 3, now I want to do something, I want to break out of the loop when I is equal to 3. Okay, let me end it. Now I want to break. Okay, so if I is equal to 3, I want to break out of, that is to say I want to stop everything. Now when I go sorry, it's not printing anything because we are assigning 3 here. So in every loop is always going to assign 3 here. Okay, and when it does that, it's going to break. So this condition will always be true. So let's correct that. We're using by the equality sign, not the assignment operator. Okay, so if I go and refresh, you see it's going to print just 1 to 3. If I want to instead break when I is equal to 7, so it's going to print from I to 7, sorry, 0 to 6. So when it's equal to 7, it's going to break. It's not going to implement all of this thing. Okay, so and I told there is another directive called continue. Now if I want to skip this one, I say continue. Okay, now what continue does, continue will skip the current iteration. So if I is equal to 7, now it's saying that don't even come down here and implement this one, just keep it and come back here and just keep it and come back here, increment it before continuing. Okay, so which means that during our printing of the list, 7 is not going to be, because it's going to be skipped. Okay, so it's going to print 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's going to skip 7 because of this continue here. So this continue continues the loop while omitting the current loop. Okay, So it continues the looping while omitting the current iteration. So that's what continue does. Okay. Now, this break and continue, you see these codes here, and if checking all of these things here, can be shortened by using the overloaded break and continue. Okay. So if you use this other one instead, you can use this one that has the open and close bracket. So when using this one, you can put the condition here. So you break if si is equal to 3. So it's going to stop whenever this iteration, whenever I becomes 3. So it's going to break out of it and stop from there. So it's going to print 0, 1, 2. Okay. So if I refresh, so you see here, it's also similar to continue. Okay. So continue. So you see 0, 1, 2 is going to skip 3 and so on and so forth. So you can add so many continuous as you want. You can also combine it with the break. So let's say inside here, if I remove button break, okay, now I need to break if I is equal to 6. Okay, I need to continue here if I, alright, let's print just the even numbers. When it's 7, we turn it completely. When it's 9, continue. Okay, so right, so that is how you use the break and the continue in your blade file. Okay, so we have seen the for loop, we have seen the break and the continue directive in the for loop. So I want to talk about another loop. Let me first of all comment all of this. Now I want to talk about another loop called the while loop. So the directive is called while. Now this while loop, before continuing, let me just end the while and while. Okay, like the for loop, or unlike the for loop, it takes just the condition here. Okay, so we say while this condition is satisfied, continue doing everything that is written inside. Okay, now I'm going to do what we did up here. Let me come here and copy it. So, to the another list, give it a class of list. Okay, this is come here, cut our while loop, paste here, and so here we're going to put in our list item. Okay. Now while so what this thing will do is this will go into an infinite loop, which means the loop will never end. Okay, because it is always going to assign this. It is always going to assign this one to this variable. So it does not end. So it is going to run out of memory and very crash. If I refresh, see it's going to spin and spin and spin and spin and spin. This spin will never end because it has gone into an infinite loop. So in the while loop, what we do here is we put in here the condition. Okay, so this is how you use the while loop in your blade file. Okay, so in the while loop you put your condition here and then you put the execution down here, so it's always going to execute as long as this condition is satisfied. Okay, so now let's go into the for each loop. Let me comment that out. So in the previous video we saw the for each loop. So the for each, let me come and go. So in the for each loop, it takes in an array just as we saw in the previous video. Okay. Now, so for demonstration, let's go back to our welcome. Now let's say we have a variable here that is let's say we have items here. Okay. Okay. And so this item is itself an array. Actually, okay, so it's going to be an array of, let's say, mango, bear, column, and so on. Okay, so when you want to print it here, say for each items, what do we call our variable items? Okay, for each items as fruits. Okay, so let me come here, create our other lists, give it a class of list, copy our for each and paste it in here. Right. So for each item has fruits, okay, so this means that loop over these items that are present in this item array. When we come here, you see we have 3 items here, which means loop over these items, and whenever you access each, call that particular item fruits. Okay, and echo out the fruits here. Okay, so this is what all of this one means. If I go to our browser, refresh, okay, so it's printing mango, pear, guava. For some reason our display is not, okay, so we forgot to put this in li. So I was saying, so that's how you loop over the for each loop things. Okay, so this data we are looking into, this is the most widely used loop whenever you are printing data on a web page, especially when you are printing from a database, because most databases will give you items in an associative array. Okay, so for example here, if we have these items in associative array, so this is the most widely used looping statement that you most often come across, because most often whenever you're pulling data from the database, it's always giving you data is given to you in an associative array. Okay, so you hardly use the for loop, because in the for loop you need to know beforehand the number of items you are looping. Okay, so which is not always the case. For example, you have a list of users that you wish to print on your web page. So you might not know the number of users. So the number of users that you have in the database might not be defined. So for example, if you have a site that a user can register, create an account at any time, so you might not know beforehand the number of users that you have. So in the for each loop, you don't need to know the number of users that you have. Even the while loop, you don't need to know the number of users or the number of items that are present in the loop. But this is the most widely used. Okay. So this for each loop comes with a variable called a loop variable. Call it a loop variable. Okay. So this loop variable provides access to some useful bits of information, such as the current loop index. For example, if you want to know the looping index, for example, is it the first item that is being printed? Is it the last item that is being printed? Is it number 7 item that is being printed, and so on? So this loop variable is important in this for each loop. We're going to do a demonstration just now. For example, now let's say I want to print here here the index. Okay, the index, which means the current iteration. So you have access to the index. I'm going to leave a link in the description below so that you go and check out the documentation concerning this loop. Then I put a dot to separate the index from the item. Okay, if I go now to the browser, refresh, you see. So whenever the loop is at 0, this is the index. This is the index for 1 or 2. So for an array, loops or indices always start from 0. Okay. Yeah. So while we are still in the bit, just comment that out. Okay. Now I want to show you how you can. You see, all what we have been doing here. This is called commenting. Now, in comment, when you are commenting something, it does not actually run on your browser. It just hides it. Okay. So if I go and comment all of what we have commented down here, you see, going into the browser, refresh. You see, this is going to spin and spin because of this our infinite loop we created earlier. Okay. What if I just go here and this part? You see that the code is going to run every other part except that part that was commented. So it's useful when you want to debug or something else. So commenting can also help you to include some data that you wish. For example, if you have some parts of code that you want to explain what you're doing, so that for if in the future you want to debug your code and you want to understand why you're writing what you're writing, so you just need to come and read the comments. So commenting is really very helpful. So this video is becoming very long. In the next video, we will still talk about blades, and I'm going to show you how you can inherit. I'm going to show you how you can separate all of this in a separate file. Since, as I told you last time, that we are going to do that in this video, but since this video is becoming too long, we are going to do that in the next video. Okay, so we're going to separate all of this into one file, so that we have just one file for all the pages, so that if you have any change to make, don't need to go in that particular page and change it. You don't need to go to one file, change it, and everything is done. So if you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, go on, click the red subscribe button, turn on the notification bell, so that you stay connected with all the video tutorials. You don't miss anything. Okay, so remember, practicing makes perfect. Practice all what you have learned in this video. Try it over and over again. If you have any question, just leave it down in the section below. If you have any suggestion, comment it down below. We are going to get back to you as soon as possible. Okay, so like our video if you really like the video, and share it. So see you in the next video. Bye bye.